let's go ahead and get that dust spot cleaned up by rolling the segue wheel for our first segue. The first story.
Segue.
Reminds me of a song, or I guess reminds you of a song for my first story, which is about the EU finally cutting off themselves from the Russian gas. Yes, the evil Russian gas. I didn't even know we weren't completely cut off to begin with, but I guess we're still flowing into Slovakia and Hungary, which is one of the reasons Hungary is such a big fan of Russia. They give them all that juicy gas.
Right.
It's from Victor Jack on Politico. Pressure mounts on NATO allies to go all in, or I should say all out. A majority of NATO countries have joined the PURL scheme, and the rest are under pressure to put your money where your mouth is. Oh, wait, why is this not showing me the story? Here it is. Hungary and Slovakia are two countries who have long spurned a phase-out. Now EU capitals are ready to overrule them. Coming out of Brussels after 3 years of reasoning, pleading and conceding, the EU has had enough. Today, the bloc's 27 member countries are expected to back a new bill that will permanently cut Russian gas supplies to Hungary and Slovakia, whether they like it or not. Since Moscow launched its all-out war in Ukraine in 22, 3 years ago, almost 4 now, the EU has weakened the Kremlin's long-held grip over the bloc's energy supply, all but eliminating its imports of Russian oil, coal, and gas. However, throughout this bitter energy divorce, Budapest and Bratislava have stubbornly refused to play ball, repeatedly arguing they have no real alternative, and their Russian-friendly governments complaining that quitting Moscow would mean exploding prices for consumers. Experts largely dispute those claims. Experts, people who study this shit. In any case, EU capitals are ready to overrule them. While Russia repeatedly pummels Ukraine's energy infrastructure, billions of euros have been paid by Hungary and Slovakia to Russia, said Lithuanian Energy Minister Žygimantas Vasiūnas. They are using this for the war machine. This is really not acceptable. Now it is time to demonstrate political will on the EU level, he told Politico. Since Vladimir Putin's first ordered troops into Kyiv, Brussels has slapped an embargo on Russian crude, fuel, and coal entering the bloc. It's imposed a $47.6 barrel price limit on Moscow global oil sales, below the market rate, and it's whittled down the Kremlin's share in the EU's gas market from 45% to 13%. Wow, that is pretty impressive. 45 to 13. But Hungary and Slovakia have repeatedly dug their heels in and held up sanctions, winning carve-outs that allowed them to keep importing Russian crude via the Druzhba pipeline through Ukraine and blocking efforts to target Moscow's gas and nuclear sectors. In fact, the two countries are steadily increasing their fossil fuel payments to Moscow, according to Isaac Levy, Russia lead at the Helsinki-based Center for Research in Energy and Clean Air think tank, has said. Budapest and Bratislava have paid Russia 5.58 billion euros for fossil fuel imports so far just this year. So not the entire war, but just this year. He said already beating that 5.56 billion they forked out last year. So they're 5 billion in probably for 3 years. Since that means they've been giving Ukraine 15 billion Russia 15 billion to continue attacking Ukraine. Realizing its consensual approach had hit a wall, the European Commission in June decided to change tact. The EU executive unveiled a legal proposal that would impose a ban on Russian gas starting from next year for short-term contracts ending in late 27 for long-term deals. So something that's already had, you give us gas for 5 years or whatever, that will be cut off next year, and then the longer-term stuff. Unlike sanctions, which require unanimity from all EU countries, the proposal, billed as a trade measure, only needs a qualified majority of capitals to approve it, effectively removing Hungary and Slovakia's veto power over the draft law. Today, EU energy ministers will rubber stamp the bill, sending a signal that they are ready to override both nations before they enter final negotiations with the European Parliament. "We will reach an agreement despite their opposition," said one senior EU diplomat who, like others for this story, was granted anonymity to speak freely on closed-door discussions. "It is not an easy subject, but I believe we'll get there." In the run-up to the vote, the two countries have pulled out all stops to bid a scupper deal. Slovak Minister Robert Fico has vowed to block the EU's 19th sanction package against Russia unless he wins concessions on the gas ban, otherwise known as the Repower EU. But EU countries are holding strong. That's always the case, but that they are always finding ways to make their exit strategies, Vastuanis says. But now we have to take a really strong stance on repower. In the meantime, the two countries have continued to argue the law threatens their energy security, will raise prices for consumers, and hurt their heavy industry. You know, there's like the rest of the Europe to trade with, right? You don't have to just trade with Russia. Like the rest, 25 other countries there that can provide energy to you. No, we need the Russian gas. Only the Russian gas. Hungary state-owned energy from
They probably don't, right?
Currently has a long-term contract with Russia's Gazprom until 2036. So it's going to end at the end of 2027 no matter what they do if this bill passes. As well as shorter-term seasonal deals. Slovak firm SPP is bound by its deal with the Kremlin-controlled export monopoly until 2034. Well, if this bill passes, they won't be. After MEPs agreed on their negotiating stance on the bill last week, Budapest Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó called the text a direct attack on Hungary's energy security. It sets back our economic performance and threatens the low utility costs of Hungarian families, he wrote on social media platform Twitter. "We won't let this happen. You have plenty of economic security. You're in a freaking economic bloc with 25 other countries." "Repower is nonsensical ideological move," Fico fumed earlier this month. How dare Europe want to rely on itself for energy power? No, it's stupid. They should continue relying on a dictator instead. Hungarian Foreign Minister and the Slovak Economy Ministry did not respond to Politico's request for comment, but the industry isn't as vociferous. "The proposal is probably not cataclysmic," said one Hungarian oil and gas sector insider. "The government and politicians do cry wolf. Let's see if this wolf really comes true." Like I said right early in the article, experts have said everything's gonna be fine. You're in an economic union. Stop screaming like we're cutting you off, like we're sending you back to the medieval ages. It is true this bill will likely raise prices in the region by 5 to 10% in the midterm, said Tomas Tester. Yeah, as all things, right? When you make a huge change to the economic viability of something, there's going to be a spike, either up or down, because people are going to be like, "It's changing! Oh, let's freak out!" And then it will level out at something sooner or later. But if the Commission works with countries to lower gas transit fees, this could eliminate up to 40% of a price hike, he added. So it might raise to 5 to 10, but then 40% of that 5 to 10 can be eliminated. You can do the math at home. Meanwhile, MVM is quietly signing new deals, Pletzer added. Hungary can also find alternatives via liquefied gas from Western Europe and Greece. Not Greece! The EU executive is nonplussed too. The measures have been designed to preserve the security of the EU's energy supply while limiting any impact on prices. Whether or not it leads to price increases, EU capitals are ready to pull the trigger. They didn't do much to diversify. Sabotage sanctions at quite a lot of time, said a second EU diplomat. There's no other way than to make them. That's true, right? They basically said, we can't do that because it'll hurt us, and we'll make sure it hurts us by not doing anything else, right? We will not look at any other solutions. This is our only solution. Stubbornly, we will stick to it. But there you go. There's your energy security deal news from the EU.
So it reminds me of a song. Winter's coming up, so I guess fuel's going to be a big deal because winter always is when winter's coming up. So the song it reminds me of is "A Hazy Shade of Winter" by by Simon and Garfunkel, which no specific reason.
It's not specifically about them,
winter.
But
Yeah, it's like it reminds me of a song. I don't have to definitely give you a reason, do I?
Hopefully not too hazy as they start burning all their clothes or something because they're going to freeze to death, at least according to the politicians, right? Oh, it's the end of the world!
Yeah, it's not actually a song about winter. It's about depression more than anything else. It's like, wow, I'm in the springtime of my life. Why am I still so depressed? But
Amlin says, what's a great song.
Easy shit.